Welcome to Housing Developments,
I'm Jim Tobin.
and I'm Paul Lopez.
Hey, Paul. Good morning.
Hey, man, it's weird, right? Like usually you're on the road,
That's
I'm
right.
I'm in house, or we're both on the road. But this time I'm in beautiful Las Vegas,
Yep. Yep.
um, doing the will of the show, looking at the new convention center and how that's coming about. So I gotta tell you, it's kind of impressive the stuff that we're seeing here on the site
Really.
there. It's it's kind of disorienting, right? Because we've been going to the show for so many years. So now that you kind of turn a corner and you're like, oh, there's a giant wall there. Or you turn a corner and like, oh, it's just this giant space. But
Right.
um, I think it's cool. I think it's going to be a great show. I mean,
Awesome.
construction aside, I think we're going to see some really cool things at the show.
That's awesome. And speaking of cool things to see at the show, we got to thank our sponsor, LG Pro Builder. Let's
That's right.
build the
Let's
good
build
life
a good life
together.
together.
Want to make sure all our listeners are working with LG. They're such a great company, and obviously, I can't wait to see the new products they bring to the IBS in just a couple months from now. So glad to
Totally.
have them on board as always.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, so we're recording this on purpose the day after the debate, and I gotta tell you, I am so deflated. I This is not what I was expecting at all, right?
Well, I guess that's a good way to put it. I think I'm completely disappointed in the lack of a real policy discussion. Certainly, going into this, we were fully expecting housing to at least be one of the main questions. It turns out that the moderators didn't want to go down that road for some reason, and so that was really frustrating. Really frustrating. It's the topic that's on the top of everyone's mind, most Americans' minds. The economy, but housing in particular, has taken a central focus in that, and it got a passing mention by Vice President Harris, and again the moderators. I think I really would have liked to hear what both candidates had to say about housing.
Yeah, they really didn't put, and I'm with you, right? Like normally we don't put the onus on the moderators, but a little bit of follow through and a little bit of stuff of the things that people actually want to hear about. Like I don't think we had to revisit Afghanistan again. I don't think we had to revisit a bunch of things that they came up that were just like, that's not what the people want to hear,
Right,
right? So it was just seem odd to me. I mean, we were ready to move on press releases with almost every scenario, right?
right.
Whether it's like they both did a great job talking about housing. Whether one did a great job, but the other one, did the lesser. I mean, every scenario. You know what scenario we didn't figure out? That housing would not come up at all, or at least
Right.
not substantively. So it was
Right.
very disappointing.
Yeah, and I think overall, it's funny you said, we were, just, it's maybe we weren't expecting about the debate. In a lot of ways, it was exactly what we probably thought we were going to get from the candidates themselves. I think former President Trump kind of played to type and he was forceful. He was rambling at times. He certainly came back and hit over and over again about immigration and the
Right.
economy. I thought the strongest point of his part of his night was kind of the closing statement about she's been here for 3.5 years, and why haven't you fixed these things? I thought that was probably the strongest part of it. I thought Vice President Harris, I think she did what she had to do. There was more upside for her. Is reported, a lot of voters still don't know exactly who she is, where most voters know who Trump is.
Right.
So I think Harris did a good job there. I would have liked, again, going. I hate to blame the moderators. I would have liked to see her drill down on some of the things that I thought she didn't have to answer. But overall, I thought she had a good night. You can't wait to get outside the spin room fast enough to just declare who wins. And it's my experience. It doesn't matter who won or who lost, because both sides are going to declare victory and they're going to move on.
Yeah, that's right. You mentioned this. I want to play a clip. This is Kamala Harris actually talking directly about home builders,
Yeah,
and what you have to do. So let's play that, and then let's talk about it. So.
right.
As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work, to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term.
All right, so there it is. The real big mention about housing, right? But like you said, we're going to be building about 3 million homes the next 4 years anyway, right?
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I got a lot of texts when that line came up. I'm sure your phone exploded as well. But what did you get out of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a passing acknowledgement of housing. Obviously, she connected it to her childhood and youth, and how she values home ownership. So it's obviously excellent in that regard, and saying out loud she wants to work with the home builders. Hey, that's us, right? So we look forward to working with her if she is the next president, just as much we look forward to working with Donald Trump if he becomes the next president. But in general, I really didn't think that there was no substance there. There was no talk. I mean, she's got a fairly aggressive housing plan and did not even hit that. I thought was a miss on her part. It would have taken her another 15 seconds to talk about down payment assistance and providing a supply side incentive for builders to build for first time home buyers. I just thought it was a real miss, because that's, again, it's not that hard to roll out two things I think would be really popular. But anyway, yeah, it's just disappointing. I would have liked to hear President Trump talk about housing. Like you said, we were prepared to pat everybody on the back for mentioning housing. Turns out that it's just unfortunate. Again, I think the moderator should have done a better job of asking a housing specific question.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay, so this is the one debate that we know of. I know that Kamala Harris almost immediately invited Trump to a second debate. Do you think we have one?
I do, and I don't think it's necessarily because Trump needs to right any kind of ship. I don't know how much I mean, I think he cares about doing well in the debate. I think it's going to gnaw at him that there's a lot of people saying that she won, right? But I just don't know. Do I think we have another debate? Yes, I do. And I think he's going to want it on Fox News, where he's going to at least feel like he's got friendlier moderators. And it would be good to do another one. We'll be right now. We're just getting ready to start early voting in many states. We'll be right in the middle of it. And I have no doubt that it was as much gamesmanship from the Harris campaign. They know she did well last night, so they put him on the defensive to say yes or no. And if he backs off, says we don't need a debate, then he's chicken. He doesn't want to debate her because he lost so poorly. It was, or he says yes, and they feel like they're going to clean his clock again. I think Trump will be somebody wins and loses, whether you believe it or not. And in your own viewing of it, I was talking to my son last night and he was watching it. And my daughter was too for one of her classes. And I said, tune out all the garbage after and before. I said, just watch it for yourselves and just figure out who you think won or you think lost. And we had an interesting discussion after it was over, but I hope they do another one. I would like to see it. I'd like to see more policy focus. I really, really would.
Yeah. Do you think that the vice presidential debate now becomes a bigger thing for the Trump Vance campaign, or do you think it's just going to be kind of the same old, same old?
I think it's, in my mind, that the VP candidate debate is just kind of the sideshow.
Right.
And it'll be interesting. I know nobody votes. I don't believe anybody votes for the vice president candidate. I just don't believe it. I don't think it's ever been borne out. I don't, I maybe they did with Kennedy and LBJ, but that was the last time I think we saw some, where a ticket had to be balanced for a variety of reasons. The electorate just changed so much in those years. So I think I'm more interested in the Vance Walz debate, just because I think it will be more substantive. Vance is I think Vance is going to be good on the stage. I watched him. He was on Fox afterwards and, sit in with Hannity or whatever it was. and he made all the points that Trump didn't make, and that's what always drives me crazy, is that when the main candidate can't get the job done. But I thought Vance did a good job. I'm actually looking forward to that a little bit more than even a second Harris Trump debate.
Yeah, and historically, the vice presidential debates are where the attack dogs come out and kind of start doing some heavy swinging, just because that's primarily their role, right? So it's
Yeah,
always more entertaining.
yeah, that's why I think it is more entertaining, and perhaps you'd even see a little bit of fireworks there too. But yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. Long way to go. I know everybody keeps ticking down. We're 50 whatever days left, or if even that many. Still a long way to go. The race is super tight. I think Trump, we may have seen Vice President Harris peak. Coming out of the convention, there really was no bump for her. Trump kind of retook the lead by 1 point nationwide. Again, I don't pay attention to the nationwide polls. They're more interesting than anything. They're super tight in the 7 swing states. Whether she gets a bump coming out of this, sure. My gut tells me she gets more of a bump out of Taylor Swift's endorsement than she does from the debate. But again, still a long way to go. The ads are full blown. For those of you who live in the 7 swing states, I'm sorry. Having visited a couple of them over the last couple of months, it's pretty. It's the ads are awesome in all respects, but it's going to be a lot of them. Long way to go. Long way to go.
Yeah, I'm in Nevada now, like I mentioned, and you can't
Yeah.
turn on TV. It's literally back and forth. Harris ad, Trump
Right.
ad, Harris.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of astonishing, quite honestly. All
Yeah.
right, so
I just don't know if anybody made up their mind, yes or no, last night. They talk about this group of this chunky group um of I don't know what you call them, Republicans or Democrats who aren't happy with either candidate. Where do they fall? I don't know if last night's enough. It depends on when you tuned in and tuned out. She started off a little slow. She certainly got stronger through the debate. If you turned it off after the first 10 minutes, maybe you left with a different opinion. So I think everybody retreats to their corners, and we continue to slog it out.
okay, well, then that brings up the interesting question then. So between now and the official election day, what does each candidate have to do to either move the needle or figure out a way of trying to win? Because if you're saying that a lot of this, and I agree with you, right? A lot of these guys, are already locked in, very few, undecideds. So what does each campaign need to do between now and the election day?
Well, they just have to keep prosecuting the case for themselves and against the other one. You could see Kamala Harris was starting to, talk about going, we're looking forward, not looking back. Why are we retreating? So I think you just have to keep hammering those. I'd be curious if the vice president does any more interviews. That's kind of a constant ticker about she's only done one interview. She hasn't done anything else. She doesn't do any live events other than what she's scripted for. President Trump seems to roll out every 2 days with a new one, with a new press conference or something like that. So it's very interesting. The only thing I would say, and I've talked to several people and listened in on a variety of the people smarter in the space than I am, to about where the polls show. And I don't know if I've talked about it in the last podcast, but at this time in the campaign, 4 years ago, President Biden was up about 6 points on President Trump. He ended up winning by 2, generally, kind of when he smoothed it all out at the end. So where'd that 4% go between the polls and actual votes? And there is this sense out there that we still don't have a full handle on the Trump voter out there, the shy Trump voter, and that maybe his lead is better than we think. I've talked to somebody who operates in the space and said if the election was held today, Trump would win Pennsylvania very easily. And that's probably the biggest get for either candidate right now. So again, a long way to go, but there's I think Vice President Harris has some work to do, despite her performance last night, which was excellent. That there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. And meanwhile, right, the world awaits, at least the United States does, in terms of housing. I mean, between
Right.
between the election and the Fed, determining how much they're going to lower rates, housing continues to kind of just muddle along. Despite rates are now at their lowest level since February of 2023, and it doesn't seem to be moving the needle a whole lot, just because everyone's kind of in this wait and see mode, right?
Yeah, good to see rates come down. I mean, probably more than we thought they would at this point. I mean, it's my impression is that, I think Rob Dietz thought we'd kind of get down to that 6% mortgage rate, into next year, but here we are starting to flirt with it now. Yeah, I mean, we were, we did the NHB town hall meetings ahead of the fall leadership meeting yesterday, and across all of the regions, there was this kind of persistent question of the market has really slowed, and I think interest rates are part of it. People are trying to now time the market, and hey, well, if they went down a quarter point in the last month, why wouldn't I wait one more month? I think the politics of the moment is keeping people on the sidelines, wanting to know who's gonna lead the country in a few months, and therefore who's going to fix the economy. So yeah, just a lot of uncertainty, and I think people are just standing pat for the fall.
Well, again, like we always say at the end of this, to be continued as always.
That's right. That's right.
So, but it looks like we're going to be going into some interesting times now, hopefully, between the Fed actions and as the election keeps heating up.
Yeah.
So before we leave, another big shout out to our sponsor, LG Pro Builder. Let's build a good life together. Always important.
Yeah, thanks. Good to see you, Paul. See you back soon. Safe travels. Anyway, so for Housing Developments, I'm Jim Tobin.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
See
Take
ya.
care.